quick news about actual Russian war in Ukraine, Russian aggression, and the continuation of attacks. Obviously, to at least to an extent, there were less severe attacks in the past, like a month or something, because presumably Russia was grouping up and trying to, perhaps for 24th of February, which will be a year of this war, quite soon, right? They were trying to regroup. They were trying to mobilize their kind of troops and perhaps capture some territories, some new territories. And apparently now, in the past like week or so, in the beginning of February and till now, maybe a couple of weeks, apparently their new kind of offensive operation has started. And so, in 3 days, Russia lost over 100 vehicles, including 36 tanks, in attacks on Avdiivka and Vuhledar. This is by open source intelligence group, basically, that collects information from open sources, from public sources, basically, Oryx. And so, apparently, and all the news basically that come from this region right now, from the region of Vuhledar, Avdiivka, say that this is basically World War One sort of trench warfare, just like complete shit show. People from like Wagner Group and things like that, or even like newly mobilized Russians, they're just like sending those peoples in waves, and Ukrainians just shoot them down as waves of them, literally like zombies. I'm not sure how much of it is true, because obviously some reports could be exaggerated, right, from one side or the other, but there are there are very little reasons to believe this is not true, because Russia has been doing the same sort of tactics as they've been doing back in 1940 one and onwards with their attacks. Basically, they're literally throwing meat at the problem, and nothing has changed basically since then. They've learned nothing in like 80 years. They've learned no new sort of tactical no new tactics. They still think wars are won basically like that. You just throw people at the problem. And good that those people are not particularly well trained, don't particularly have too much equipment or too much skill. However, just because there are quite a lot of them, I think they still either have captured some specific little towns, or Ukraine has decided to leave them because it's a no man's land basically. It's like completely wasted land, and we're not talking, by the way, about the towns of like 100,000 people, of like a million people, things like that. We're talking about towns, villages, even like 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people at max before the war. Right now, I don't think there will be anybody there really. Maybe. But yeah, basically, that's the tactics of Russians. The ratio of losses was about 5-1 on February 10, and overall ratio of losses of equipment is 3-1 Russian to Ukrainian, which is interesting. And they didn't really talk about the amount of potentially killed people, but by reports from Ukraine, it's a lot of them, like a lot.